this morning. And folks, you know, no disrespect to a great baseball player named Lou Gehrig, but I have felt like the luckiest person on the face of the earth because I had the privilege of working for the likes of Barack Obama, Ted Kennedy, and so many other leaders. And in the course of that privilege, I had the honor of getting to know our next speaker, Rev Bishop Barber. It's force of nature. When we were doing education reform in North Carolina, Rev Barber was there. When we were doing voter suppression issues across the country, Rev Barber was there. On MLK Day in 2015, I had the privilege of marching with him in South Carolina, calling for the removal of the Confederate flag. A few months later, a horrific hate crime occurred. The flag was taken down, but at a very, very, very high human cost. At every moral fork in the road, Rev Barber has been there. Through his leadership of the Poor People's Campaign, he has called much-needed attention to the fact that over 140 million people of all races in this country are struggling to make ends meet. His words call on the conscience of the American people, and he has helped lead our country's pursuit of the moral revival we so desperately need. Every so often, you gotta go, I talk about the gas station. You go to that gas station if you need gas for your car, if it has a gasoline tank. My car is all electric, so I don't have to do that. But you know what, folks? Today we're going to go to the moral filling station because Rev Barber is going to help fill our moral tank with his inspiration. And let us start with a remarkable video that highlights the great work of this distinguished American hero.
We must be honest about the foundations of the political and economic systems we call America. I love America because of her potential, but I know that America will never even get close to being a more perfect nation until we are honest about the politics of rejection.
I want to tell you about some of the leaders who are building the Poor People's Campaign. Callie Greer, from Selma, Alabama, who had to bury her daughter, Venus, because she didn't have health care.
I'm here today to share my daughter Venus' story. Venus discovered a small lump in her breast and she wasn't insured. Venus had to be approved for every prescription and every piece of medical equipment that she needed.
I just care about Kamala.
I'm standing here today in solidarity with the Poor People's Campaign because no one should bury their child because they don't have health care insurance.
I'm 46 years old. I've lived in poverty here in West Virginia every day of my life. And I'm working. I am working for with a bachelor's degree. I'm doing the best I can with what I have.
I'm a second-generation fast food worker, and I've experienced the cycle of poverty firsthand. Growing up, I watched my mother endure long hours of back-breaking labor, doing everything she could to feed me and my sisters. My employer barely pays me enough to pay rent and utilities, let alone the medical expenses with my mother.
I worked 41 years in the coal mines. I have black lung, and it's just unfathomable what these poor coal miners have to go through in order to get what they have worked for and deserve.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. My only chance of going to college was joining the Army.
It was one thing to know that you didn't have water and you couldn't afford your water. It's a whole nother to find out that they shut off your entire community and none of you matter.
But when I lost my housing, health care, and income all at the same time, I was terrified, panicked.
Hi, my name is Pamela Rachel. I'm from Louisiana, Alabama. And I live in a mobile home with my 2 kids. And I got raw sewage. I don't pay no money on the house. And I have to travel back and forth to Birmingham to take my daughter with the CPAP machine. They'll have a car, they'll have no way to take her.
This is the largest encampment in Aberdeen. There's about 1,000 people in a town of 16,000 who are homeless.
In my community, we were all shut off for the day because none of us could afford our water bills. In the past, my family wasn't able to afford electricity in the winter. It was very hard on all of us.
This wall, this is sin of the highest form.
When there are 38 million poor children, when 60% of African Americans are poor, when 65% of Latinx are poor, when 40% of Asians are poor, when there are 67 million poor white people, we must say, this is not right.
And it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore.
Our brothers and sisters are sleeping on the street. For a country this rich to have so many people poor, it's immoral and it's wrong.
Our backs are against the wall, and we got no choice but to push.
We lift our voices for justice. We put our bodies on the line for mercy. And together we will proclaim liberty throughout the land. For the enslaved, for the poor, and for us all.
Followed up breaking news in Albany, where a large group of protesters have moved into the street.
Washington Avenue between City Hall and Water Street closed down.
Protesters with the Poor People's Campaign of Indiana.
2 o'clock on the East Coast, 2 o'clock in the middle, 2 o'clock on the West Coast. A wave, and historians tell us it's never happened before.
Our communities, Muslim communities, who have joined the Poor People's Campaign, you can count on us.
Our democracy is in trouble. And we come to demand.
Because it's crucial that we make ourselves heard. No one is listening. We write letters, we make calls. No one is listening. So we gotta find a way to make ourselves heard.
We are the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. And we are here. We are poor. We are free. And we're here to say to our nation, everybody has a right to learn. Everybody has a right to love. Everybody has a right to live in wages. Everybody has a right to vote. Everybody has a right to thrive. To thrive in society.
We read Article 6 of the Kentucky State Constitution that said we have a right to free assembly.
We are demanding that we stop the war on our poor.
There will be a movement that will break through the town and bring people together to save the heart and the soul of this democracy and this world.
Please get up. Please get up if you can. Please honor the moral leader of our nation. My friend, Rev Barber.
Forward together, not one step back. The members of the Democratic National Committee, I want to thank the chairman and the CEO for accepting our requests that we made in writing
to bring a moral message of today's Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival to this body.
Thank you.
I want you to be clear that we have written both parties and the leadership in the Congress, both sides of the aisle, requesting, and we are so thankful that you responded. I also want to be clear that I'm not here on my own, but I'm here as co-chair of this campaign. I'm here as a pastor, as president of Repairers of the Breach, and as president emeritus of the largest state conference of the NAACP in the South, which helped to lead and convene the Moral Mondays in North Carolina. I am with the Reverend Dr. Liz Theos Harris, who is here today. She's a leading scholar, theologian, and activist with degrees in New Testament and economics, and directs the Cairo Center at Union Theological Seminary. Also with us today is from the Poor People's Campaign and Repairers of the Breach is Roz Pellis, who led the Civil Rights Division of the AFL-CIO, and Laurel Ashton, our lead organizer from Appalachia. We are here together, Tom, representing 43 state coordinating committees, 120 national parties, partners, 15 national religious bodies working together to shift the moral narrative of this nation and build power among the poor and low-wealth community. We are here representing tens of thousands of grassroots organizers who have committed to this building power, changing the moral narrative in our public life, and when necessary, engaging in nonviolent direct action and registering people for the movement who will vote. I come representing tens of thousands who are calling for a televised debate in the primary and in the general election on 5 interlocking injustices and areas of political violence together: systemic racism, systemic poverty, ecological devastation, the war economy, and the false moral narrative of religious nationalism. Interlocking. We do not need to address them in silos, but address them together. Last year, when we did 6 weeks of direct action across America, tens of thousands of people participated in the largest wave of mass civil disobedience since the Lunch County sit-ins of 1960s. Our data people tell us that by June 23rd, 2018, the Poor People's Campaign hashtag had been viewed 374 million times across social media platforms. And over 1 million people tuned in by live stream on the final day when 30,000 people from across the nation made their commitment to the relaunching of a moral movement for the heart and the soul of this nation. We are not just an inspirational campaign with rhetoric to inspire. We have worked with some of the nation's leading economists and think tanks like the Institute of Policy Studies and created a Souls of Poor Folks Audit of America, which all of you will get a copy of via email. And under the direction of Attorney Shala Gupta-Barnes, who's here today, we prepared and presented to the House Budget Committee this summer a moral budget with numbers on how we as a nation could shift priorities to meet the demands of the Poor People's Campaign today. And we held for the first time in history a Poor People's Moral Justice Congress that brought together over 1,000 people from all 50 states and moral leaders who are committed to transformation in this country. In 24 days, we will be in El Paso to launch a 9-month, 22-stop tour that we're calling We Will Do More Tour. M, mobilizing, O, organizing, R, registering, E, educating and registering people for the movement who will vote. This tour will culminate with a mass Poor People's Assembly and Moral March on Washington, D.C., June 20th, 2020, and we hope to see many of you there. I must be frank today. There is a deep pain driving this campaign. I'm here after having traveled with my friends from the Bronx to the borders, from Appalachia to Aberdeen, from the Carolina and the deltas of the South to Detroit, Michigan, and the California coast, from the Rust Belt of Pennsylvania and to the breadbasket of Kansas. And I cannot forget the cries and the tears that we have heard. And any party that forgets them does not deserve to hold on. Cannot forget the mother whose child died in her arms because her state of Alabama wouldn't expand Medicaid, and the other hundreds of thousands of people in that state that are suffering. I can't forget the man in my own home state of North Carolina whose wife died in a parking lot because the local hospital closed a week before she had a heart attack because North Carolina refused to expand health care. I cannot forget the homeless veteran who told me he flies his flag outside his tent in Washington State homeless camp to remind people he served his country, and now that homeless encampment was shut down recently by the police. I cannot forget families in rural Alabama with raw sewage in their backyard and mold in their homes so toxic that a 9-year-old boy is wearing a CPAP machine. I cannot forget the white coal miners in West Virginia and Kentucky who we met with, who have shared with us how they are living with their backs against the wall. I cannot forget the elders of the Apache Nation in Arizona who wept because their state's senators sold land rights under their most sacred holy site to a copper company that plans to dig it up just for a few percentages of copper. I cannot forget in Kansas how cattle ranchers and family farmers and undocumented immigrants and low-wage workers came together to tell their stories and the stories of even suicides among farmers who cannot figure out how to feed their families. And out of this pain, people are not only crying out, they are coming together. And there are 7 things in this campaign we insist we must do as a nation if we are to revive the heart of this democracy, and I want to share them with this party. Number 1, we must deal with systemic racism. But we must understand that to deal with systemic racism is to do more than address the words of racism. We must remember that the words of racism are simply the cover-up for the works of racism. This is not new. I'm so tired of people saying we've never seen this before. If you didn't see it before, it's not because it wasn't happening. It's not because it hadn't been in our history. Maybe others didn't use the words, but the works of racism have been there all the time. White nationalism has an agenda. Richard Spencer said that the war against immigrants was the first proxy war of white supremacy in America. Nixon's Southern strategy said if you focus on who hates who, you could build a coalition of white people in the South, the suburbs, and the Sun Belt that would last 50 years. Well, 2018 was the 50th year, and the nation is finally beginning to see what's been happening all the time. What we see now is not new. It is the iconography of a too often repeated reality in the American process. Dr. King said that the Bourbon class has always sown division between white, black, and brown people in this country to keep them from forming fusion coalitions that can change the electorate. need moral political leadership that will challenge the works of racism, the divide and conquer strategy designed to pit people against one another, and the policies that have disparate impact on black and brown people and even white people. Systemic racism is not just against black people, it is an assault on democracy itself. Racism is not just words. Racism is voter suppression and gerrymandering. Since 2010, at least 23 states have passed racist voter suppression laws, including racist gerrymandering and redistricting laws to make it harder to register, reduce early voting, purge voters from the poll, and require restrictive forms of ID. If you want to talk about racism, let's really talk about racism. Filibustered the 1957 Civil Rights Act for 24 hours, and we called him a racist. Mitch McConnell has blocked restoration of the Voting Rights Act for 6 years and 1 month and 29 days, over 2,000 days. If Strom Thurmond was a racist for blocking the Civil Rights Act for 24 hours. Disenfranchised due to felony convictions, including 1 in 13 adults. And this racism I'm talking about can't always be talked about from a black mouth. We need some white mouths that can lay out racism. Racism. 25 states have passed laws that preempt cities, mainly large block voting blocks, from adopting their own minimum wage laws. Racism is demonizing undocumented people while refusing to acknowledge that Texas, New Mexico, and California were taken from the Mexican people by a war. That Henry David Thoreau and Abraham Lincoln resisted in the 19th century. The people are not crossing the border crossed them. Racism is demonizing undocumented immigrants who have contributed $5 trillion to the U.S. economy in the last 10 years. And they paid $13 billion into Social Security without having a legal right to claim a dime of it when they get old. That's racism. Racism is the resegregation of our public schools with vouchers for private religious academies that were started by movements that resisted desegregation and labor during the civil rights movement. Racism is mass incarceration. Racism is giving permits to corporations that refuse to respect Native American and indigenous people's land claims. Racism is at the root of the perversion of the Second Amendment that leaves weapons of war in the hands of citizens. Racism is why some still call the Affordable Care Act Obamacare instead of the Affordable Care Act. And racism is behind the president's call to overturn the 14th Amendment. Racism is not just about words. And any party or political candidate that think if they just talk about the word, they have talked about racism, they are missing. It is also the policy initiatives of congressional enablers who push racist policies or block policies that would address the harms of racism every day, and they may never say a racist word. Number two, we're going to get the heart of this democracy. We cannot address the crisis in our democracy without talking about poor and low-wealth people. And there are 140 million, and yes, this has been fact-checked by the Washington Post. There are not 40 million poor people in this country. There are 140 million poor and low-wealth people in this country. Here are the numbers. 39 million children, 21 million elders, 65 million men, 74 million women, 26 million black people, 38 million Latino people, 8 million Asian people, 2.1 million Native people, 66 million white people, 65.8 million men. I know it's a lot of numbers. Yes, poverty and low wealth represents nearly 61% of black people and only 35% of white people. But when you look at that in raw numbers, there are 40 million more poor and low wealth white people in this country than there are black people. We need to talk about it. We cannot marginalize poverty. We cannot really racialize poverty, which Republicans and Democrats have done. We can't talk around it. Even as we sit in this convention hall, Pastor Cecil Williams of Blythe Memorial Church is right behind this house, this hotel. He knows the name and the faces of the people who've been served more than 80-some thousand meals at their shelter just this past year. These are more than numbers. We're talking about half of our children are poor and low wealth. The vast majority of people of color. But when we disaggregate these numbers, we see that there are more poor and low wealth white women than any other demographic. Too often we talk about poverty as if it's just a black issue. But if you can't pay your light bill and your lights go off, whether it's black, white, or brown, we all black in the dark. When 62 million workers who make less than a living wage can't afford food for their family, their children's stomachs don't growl black or white, they growl hungry. We are bothered as we should be when a rogue racist police officer shoots an unarmed black person. We get in the street, sure. We are bothered when a racist with an assault weapon shoots and kills 23 people, and we should, but somehow we don't express the same outrage when the Mailman School of Public Policy issued a report that says 250,000 people die every year from poverty. And low wealth, that's 684 people a day. Poverty is a crisis for all America. 43.5% of this nation. Silence on the issue of the needy is as bad as being loud about tax cuts for the greedy. It's not enough. And it's not enough to parrot the neoliberalism consensus that if the economy does better, we all do better. If Wall Street is better, we all do better. It's not true. And in fact, that plays into Trump's power. Wall Street got a boost from the tax cuts this administration pushed through, but poor and low wealth people are struggling to survive. There might be a recession coming, but there are 43% of this country that's already in a recession. And we have to say the word poverty. Don't you believe those folk who tell you that poor folk don't want you to say the word poverty. They just don't want you blaming them for their poverty. We need to lift up the story of folks in Appalachia and Kansas and the Mississippi Delta and South Carolina and California. We need to hold them alongside the folks in our gentrifying cities, some who work 2 jobs and still sleep in their cars at night. It's not enough to talk about lifting the middle class because 140 million Americans aren't sure they'll ever get into the middle class. 43% of the nation. And many of them are the 100 million people who stayed home last time and didn't vote because they never hear their name in the public square. We must embrace health care as a human right and ecological justice as centerpieces of a moral injustice. Healthcare is a life issue. It's a moral issue. People are dying from the policies that do not provide health care in the richest nation in the history of the world. And the states that refuse to expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, You know what's interesting? Those same states are the ones that passed racist voter suppression law after the Shelby decision in 2013. And you want to know what else is true? The majority of the people being denied health care in those states are white. So here is the ugly irony. The people who got elected through racialized voter suppression then used their power to hurt mostly poor white folk. And we have to connect these dots. If health care is a life issue, so is the health of our air, our water, our land, the health of the earth. Young people are right, climate change is a moral issue. But also the fact that 4 million people in this nation can buy unleaded gas every day and can't buy unleaded water. And you can't talk about climate change and not talk about systemic racism and talk about poverty. Systemic racism and poverty intersect with ecological devastation from our inner cities to Cancer Alley in Louisiana, where former plantations have become chemical plants that poison the sons and daughters of enslaved and sharecroppers and white people, and where they have over $1 billion of acid water in a dam that they're thinking about spraying in the air. The reality is, if you are running for office nationally and you can't go by Cancer Alley, you ain't got no business on Pennsylvania Avenue. Name how these moral issues intersect with America's war economy. This is what the Poor People's Campaign is saying. Now, I know how worried people are. I see you right now shaking about challenging militarism. Believe me, I'm a pastor for 25 years in an Air Force town. My father was a Navy man who gave first-class blood for second-class citizenship. I'm not questioning the courage and the devotion of this nation's veterans and soldiers, but I've seen what our senseless wars have done to them and their families. And I know the money that's wasted in the war economy and the lives and the land that's wasted by needed violence. And I know that the nation is in a dangerous place when you spend 15 cents on infrastructure and health care and 61 cents of every discretionary dollar on killing and war. Military spending in half and still spend more per year than China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea combined. The issue isn't our security, it's our priority. We must make investing in life and peace a moral issue. And number 6, we must embrace a moral narrative and reject the narrow framing of religious nationalism. If you travel to the poorest counties in America, you will learn that folk don't have a lot to keep them going. Opioid addiction, alcoholism, an epidemic. But people in those places cling to faith. Often it's all they have. And for too long, faith has been hijacked by those who say abortion, being against a woman's right to choose, being against gay people, being for prayer, for guns, and tax cuts is a godly position. That is a heresy that is and never will be true. Lift up a moral narrative. We cannot see the moral narrative. It is too important. I want you to know that the left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, conservative versus liberal framework has allowed people to do what's wrong while we call it right. Blocking healthcare is not the right. Being about voter suppression is not the right. And left versus right is too puny. The language is too small. It doesn't help us have the kind of moral imagination that's necessary in this moment of generational change. And we must declare no more. We need a revolution of values in public life. We need leadership that will draw on our deepest religious and constitutional tradition to fight not only for what seems achievable, but what must be our moral duty. Somebody asked me as a Christian, am I a conservative or a liberal? I say I'm both. I say because there are 2,000 scriptures in the Bible that say the primary purpose of every nation is to care for the poor, the children, the sick, the women, and the immigrants. So to be a conservative is just to hold on to the essence of it. So I want to hold on to the essence of, and I want to liberally spread it to everybody. 7 and finally, we need fusion organizing to build a moral movement. This is not the time to turn on each other. It is the time to turn to each other. It is the time to understand that interlocking injustices require a moral fusion interlocking movement. When we embrace moral language, we must ask, does our policy care for the least of these? Does it lift up those who are most marginalized and dejected in our society? Does it establish justice? That is the moral question. If someone calls it socialism, then we must compel them to acknowledge that the Bible must then promote socialism. Because Jesus offered free health care to everyone and he never charged a level of protest. Bring it on, baby. The Bible says that a nation will be judged by how it treats the poor and the sick and women and the immigrant. The Bible says that God makes it rain on the just and the unjust alike. If you want to call caring for folk socialism, then the Constitution is a socialist document because it calls us to promote the general welfare and to establish justice. When every politician swears to promote the general welfare. We can't be scared of labels. This current administration is practicing, though, a kind of socialism. It's called corporate socialism. It put the greedy through tax cuts and deregulation and economic incentives and deregulating of energy companies. And they refuse to bail out communities and human beings, but they'll bail out businesses. That's called treating corporations like people and people like things. And we need political leaders who will stand up and say that helping people who are in need is a moral issue. It lines up with our deepest religious values and our deepest constitutional values. That it's not about being on the far left. Y'all stop using that language that gets you trapped. It ain't about being on the far right. It ain't about being Democrat or Republican. How dare anyone say that blocking living wages is the right? Denying people health care is right. Some things are not about left versus right, Democrat versus Republican. It's about right versus wrong. Moral message to energize the people who feel left out, Tom, and looked over by the whole framing of the system as it is. And we've seen how it can bring people together. Those people that have been pitted against one another, especially in the South. Now, I'm from the South, where many politicians support the current administration and still play the divisions of lies and racism. But my Democrats, you all got to do a little repenting too. You haven't always come South with everything you have. The South is the native home of power. The 13 former Confederate states, 52.7 million people are poor and low income. 25 million are white. 28 million are people of color. 13 million people are without insurance. The number of poor people in those 13 states is more than 1/3 of the total number of poor people in the country. The number of poor whites in those states, the 13 states, is also more than 1/3 of the total poor white people in this country. But if you could come South, and if you win in the South, do you know just 13 states gives you 170 electoral votes? And 26 senators, and 31% of the United States House. And what we learned in North Carolina is they don't fight us being together because we're weak. They fight us being together because we're strong. That will be willing to engage poor and low-wealth black, white, and brown people across the South and energize them to vote, not just with a last-minute robocall, but with real serious organizing then it's a new day. These states aren't red states. They are unorganized states. They are underfunded states. They are states where we have found fusion coalitions that are waiting to be called to higher ground. And any party that doesn't run hard and organize hard in the Deep South can't win and doesn't deserve to win. To say that it's time to come together around the moral message. In 2016, we had 26 presidential debates, and not 1 hour focused on racist voter suppression and gerrymandering and connected it to the harm and the hurt that's going on even among white people. Not 1 hour was about health care, not 1 hour about living wages, not 1 hour about court appointments and how they all are intersected. We can't have that anymore. We must have a movement that says we will not stop until love is maximized and justice is realized and evil is neutralized and workers are unionized and our air, water, and land is sanitized and families are fortified and the dignity of all people is recognized and truth is normalized and the power of the people is mobilized and protest is no longer criminalized and the glory of the Lord is magnified.
That's right.
We don't have to even raise the taxes.
That's right.
$15 immediate minimum wage would pay for 49 million workers. If we did it right now, we repealed the Trump tax cuts and established flat taxes on wealthy corporations and Wall Street, it would generate as much as $886 billion per year. Just an annual wealth tax on the 75,000 wealthiest households could generate $275 billion a year, more than enough to put 2.5 million people to work fixing our infrastructure. If the top recipient of military contracts in 2018 that received $38 billion, if we invested $37 billion of that into building water infrastructure, we could create 940,000 jobs and provide safe drinking water to thousands of communities. Scarcity is not the issue. The issue is here. Now I want you to know that the same people, Senator Harris, who was here somewhere, who helped write that report back in the 60s, the same people rejecting the cries, Tom, against racism in this country are the same people rejecting the cries of the LGBT community. The same people who reject the cries of those who need public education and free college are the same ones who reject the cries of women who demand the right to choose. The same ones who reject the cries of those who demand and desire health care. They are the same ones who reject the cries of those who are homeless. And the ones who reject the cries of those who fight for living wage, they are the same ones who reject the cries of those who suffer from ecological devastation. And at some point we must say, if they are cynical enough to be together, we better be smart enough to come together. The Bible says, there comes a time, Sister Brazil, there comes a time when the rejected, the stones that have been rejected, must become the chief cornerstone in building a new world. In this moment, we don't need to turn on each other, target each other. We need to turn to each other. And I bet you in this room, there's some people that's known rejection. Rejection because of your sexuality. Rejection because of who you love. Rejection because of how you're born. Rejection because of your class. Rejection because of your race. Rejection because somebody needed somebody to hate to feel good about themselves. There are people in here that know rejection. Rejection because of income. Rejection because of faith. Rejection because of the lack of faith. Rejection because somebody decided in their own ideology that they had a right, a false mandate to demean your humanity. But I want you to know today that the stones that the builders rejected are now the cornerstone of building a new America. I want you to know that when the rejected get together, we can in fact redeem America from hate and discrimination. When the rejected get together, when hands that once picked cotton join Latino hand, and then they join progressive hand, and they joined revolutionary hand, and they joined faith hand, and they joined labor hand, and they joined environmentalist hand, and they joined medical hand, and they joined Asian hand, and they joined native hand, and they joined poor hand, and they joined wealthy hands with a conscience, and they joined gay hand, and they joined straight hand, and they joined trans hand, and they joined Christian hand, and they joined Jewish hand, and they joined Muslim hand, and they joined Hindu hand, and they joined Buddhist hand. When all those hands get together, when we join hands together, we can adopt the cause of this democracy. When we join hands together, we can ensure the promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and equal protection and the law for everybody, and that it will not be taken from anybody, anytime, anywhere. So together, let's let the rejected come together. Together, let's be glad. This is my land. Together, America may have never been America to us, but we swear this oath that America will be. Together, let us ensure that all children and people are treated with dignity. Together, let's be a nation indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Can I tell y'all a story? When slavery looked like it had the final word, black and white abolitionists came together and declared that every attempt to stop us only emboldens our resistance. When women didn't have the right to vote, Sojourner Truth, a black woman, hooked up with Lucretia Mott, a white woman, and they fought for it. When Jim Crow thought it had America tied up forever, black, Jewish, white, Christian, Muslim, gay, and straight came together in the civil rights movement. When they told me I'd never walk again, I couldn't do it in a silo. The prayer warriors came together. The deacons came together. My pharmacists came together. My therapists came together. My doctors came together. The